and welcome into the Week 16 Countdown Show. Final one of the season. Can't even wait to put 2020 behind me.
Yes.
It's going to be so nice to not have to care about this injury-plagued season. And we get to talk more fun things, like the future of where people are going to go, and they're all going to go to teams we hate, and that's going to be sad, but it's going to be fun until that happens.
Yeah, this free agent class is crazy.
Yeah, there's a couple of big names out there for running backs, and Dak Prescott.
More than a few, but...
Yeah, I'm always excited when there's motion. I hate when it just everyone stands pat and they just re-sign their guys.
I just can't wait till like Aaron Jones goes to like Philadelphia and everyone just... You hear a million voices of fantasy football fans crying out in anger, and they were suddenly silenced.
Don't put that out there.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna be. He's gonna go somewhere terrible, and we're all gonna be sad. But that's for the future. Today we're doing the final countdown show of the season. We're trying to help our viewers win their fantasy leagues, unless two people that are watching are both playing each other. And then we're hoping for a dead even tie. Before we dive into the slate, it is a weird one because there's a Friday game this week. Vitaly, would you like to show off the beer you selected for us?
With pleasure. I was going to go with something called T-shirt Cannon.
You should have gone with that.
Yeah, Lone Pine's great.
Listen, I was going to go T-shirt Cannon, but then as a wrestling fan, I can't pass up getting to try Stone Cold's beer. It's an IPA made by El Segundo. That's the second if you don't speak Spanish. But no,
I don't.
As far as IPA goes, this is probably my favorite I've had. It's actually...
Is it your favorite because it's Steve Austin's?
It doesn't abuse me with lawn clippings. It just tastes, it's calm.
I think this is a very... Not to bash the brewing company.
Easy here.
What?
Watch your words. Talking about Stone Cold
I
here.
think this is a very middle of the road, nothing special IPA.
Honestly?
Listen, you're middle of the road, nothing special IPA.
I thought this was going to be a lot worse. We did have this in the store a couple times. But...
Yeah, I can barely even detect there's like a minor bit of bitterness. And that's it. It's like it kind of.
That's perfect.
There's not a lot. There's not really any taste in it. It's just like a little bit of bitterness. Like someone gave me an unflavored
I'm surprised this is 6.7.
unflavored Warhead.
Yeah, it's just it's easy to drink. There's a little bit of IPA in this. This is
like if someone upped the hops profile of a Coors Light.
Yeah, it's perfect for me. This is if I have to go somewhere and you can only drink IPAs. I'm drinking this because this is the least IPA I've drank.
Boring.
How many times?
All right,
say IPA?
let's run through the news real fast before we get into this slate. It's a short news list today. Hunter Henry, illness, DNP. You know how we feel about illnesses. He has the best doctors in the world. He's going to be out there. I don't care if they're putting IVs in him on the sidelines. Hunter Henry's playing.
Wait a minute.
It's not COVID.
You said the best doctors, but these are the same doctors that injected Tyrod Taylor's lung.
As I understand it, with that procedure, it's actually pretty common to puncture the lung. There's not a lot of wiggle room there.
My statement stands. Continue.
Keenan Allen, hamstring, also DNP. He is not looking like he's going to play this weekend. Obviously, it's only Wednesday. There's still a chance. But he didn't look good last week. He barely played last week. And he's trending in the wrong direction this week. So, honestly, assuming Keenan Allen's out, Hunter Henry becomes like a top 3 tight. We can talk more about that when we get to the Chargers matchup. But I think that's a major boost for Hunter Henry this week, especially with we saw him perform last week with just ghosts of their receivers. Tyler Boyd, brain, DNP. He got a nasty hit this past week. Yeah, is in the concussion protocol. He's likely going to be a game time decision. Just based on when the concussion happened. 6 days is a short turnaround time.
I was going to say, you might want to clarify for people that you mean, he didn't injure his brain.
Well, no, concussion is injuring your brain.
Yes, I know, but if you say brain, it sounds like his skull's fractured and part of it's showing. You got to clarify for the people at home that he's not dying.
He's not.
He has a concussion. Well, it's serious, but,
yeah, he is, at best, going to be a game time decision, I imagine, for this weekend. We concussions typically take at least a week to come back from. He doesn't even have a week.
Yeah.
So fire up your T. Higgins, I guess. Give a little bit of bump to AJ Green. Zeke calf limited. We have no idea what's going on with this one. We will find out more as the week goes on because Mike McCarthy is dumb. Like, calf limited for Zeke means not like Zeke was calf limited all last week, and then he I think he's gonna play, and then he didn't play. Like, it's just a phantom designation. Like, watch what happens on Sunday. And then sad end to a injury-plagued season. Kenny Golladay, hip, DNP, not expected to play this weekend. Looks like he is just going to ride off into the golf course. Like, something has to be going on behind the scenes there. This was an injury that was considered so minor. Like, all the fantasy community, doctors on the YouTube and the Twitter were saying, probably like a week or two, maybe 3, but they'd put him on IR if it was anything more serious than that because, a hip is either a quick turnaround or, like, long time. Like, everyone was saying it was like no big deal, didn't look like a big deal. The Lions weren't putting him on short-term IR, and now what? 8 weeks later, he's still not playing?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, is this his contract year or is it next year?
This is his contract year.
Yeah, if this is how it's going, he wants out probably. He is probably looking for elsewhere, and he has probably made that known to the team, so the team is just sitting him because they don't want to roll, a lame
or he's
duck.
Pulling a Kawhi and just being like, my hip's still a little sore. I don't know if I can get out there. Better let it rest. Yeah, he is a UFA at the end of this season, so.
Yeah, like, I hate seeing that because I think, you should play through your contract to put up the best film you can, but I also get it from the Le'Veon Bell point of view where it's like, why should I waste my body on a team that has...
Sure.
They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, Golladay has had 2 injuries this season. He doesn't... He knows the team doesn't care about winning. You want... So I guess Darrell Bevel's is a good player, guys. I'm sure if that is the case, it's not sitting well from like a personal standpoint. But the NFL's a business. You got to look out for your contract over playing for an interim head coach who probably will not be the head coach going into next season. That's all the injury news that I saw. Did you guys have anything that I missed?
Rule says CMC is doubtful now.
You're right. How did I not put? I
being,
saw that.
After being optimistic last week that he can get back out there. I think he kind of said what we were talking about last week with them just not wanting to risk it further.
Speaking of stud running backs who we have absolutely no idea what's going on, and their coaches are being about as clear as mud with them.
Yeah, I mean, if you own Mike Davis, you're happy.
That Mike Davis pickup.
Yeah, another one that's troubling to look out for given his production as of recent weeks, especially. James Robinson will not be practicing this week. They're talking about resting him.
I actually had him on my list.
Yeah.
I read right past him.
I was like, that's definitely a big one, and I took note of it as someone who owns him in a league or two. But yeah, he is basically resting and is hoping to play. But
yeah, I mean, there's no one behind him that you play if he's.
Yeah, if he's out, you don't start.
That is a team that is gunning for Trevor Lawrence. They're talking about sitting Gardner this week because the real reason
doesn't matter.
The real reason is because they want to have his best chance they can to lose, and Gardner gives them a better chance to win. But
yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. I think he probably has a little bit a minor injury, and they're just playing it up to be like, just sit, kid. We're gonna get you a real quarterback next year.
Sure.
Like, don't bust your legs
that
out.
That team would be so good with Trevor Lawrence. James Robinson already looks legit. DJ Chark's great. You put a real quarterback back there, not Teal Steel.
Yeah, don't you? All day he's talking smack about Stone Cold's beer. You're talking smack about Gardner. Like,
moving on. Play nice, boys.
Hey, I'll come across this table. There's very short distance between us. Okay.
All right, let's jump into the slate here. We do have a Friday game this week, and that's why we're filming this show a day earlier than we usually do. Friday game, Christmas, 4:30 p.m. Minnesota Vikings take on the New Orleans Saints, 51-point total. Vikings are almost touchdown dogs in this one. 6.5-point dogs. I hate the total. I don't see how they're going to hit 51. The Saints are a good defense. The Vikings aren't a good defense, but the Saints offense looks bad. Like, the Saints don't seem like they can play fast enough to get to this total with, broken ribs Breeze out there. And I don't trust the Vikings to, go out there and beat this Saints defense. And 2, I don't trust Kirk Cousins in primetime.
Yeah, I think for me, I think the total is inflated because of what we saw last week with how bad the Saints defense played against KC. The Vikings obviously aren't KC. I mean, they do have those talented receivers, but
Sure,
they don't have Pat Mahomes throwing the football. I think I'm slamming the under on this one because I think it's going to be a much slower paced game. I think that the running games are going to show because, Dalvin's Dalvin. He's gonna go out there. He's gonna get his. But the Saints very susceptible to run. I think we're going to see a lot of dump offs to Kamara, and I think we're going to see a lot of short passes to Cook.
Yeah, Dalvin does not care what defense he is playing against. He gets you, 147 to 389 touchdowns and roughly 1 million yards.
Yeah, this one, honestly, for Vegas, I like the line. Only on this one thing. We know how the Saints want to play football, and that is defense, short yardage, touchdown, get off the field.
Sure.
And that's exactly what you can do against the Vikings. So I can actually see that, at the end of this, I can see the Saints putting up a lot of points, but then when you look at, Breeze and the yardage totals for the Saints, it's going to look terrible.
Sure, maybe they hit their total, but it's because their defense scored 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, the defense scores a touchdown, the defense turns it over in the red zone.
Yeah.
And then Breeze is 120 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, this is a gross one. So you're starting Dalvin. You're probably starting both Vikings wide receivers. You don't want to in this matchup. Honestly, I might if I have a better matchup and roughly equivalent ranked receiver, I'd consider sitting Jefferson in this one because I don't think this is gonna be a Jefferson day. Thielen typically does well against Marshawn Lattimore. And I don't see the production there in a primetime game with Kirk Cousins where they're going to be able to support Dalvin and 2 receivers.
Yeah, I think that if you have to sit one, it's Jefferson because despite Jefferson being as talented as he is, Thielen's more of he's that short yardage touchdown in the back of the end zone.
Thielen's the more consistent one.
Yeah.
Jefferson's the game breaking one. Thielen's not going to goose you in the championship game though, and this is one of those ones where I could see Jefferson goosing you in this game. Like I said, the Saints do have a good defense; they've been playing better. I'm not saying I sit him, but I look at my other receiver options in this, and I see if there's a way I can stream over him. Saints side of the ball, it's Alvin Kamara, and that's it. End of list.
Fair. Yeah, like I said, for me, the other thing that really keeps Thielen in the conversation for me as far as these receivers against the Saints is the Thielen is just getting an amazing amount of red zone looks this year. He's leading percentage-wise for red zone trips. His target percentage, I believe, is first in the league. So
he's like Cooper Kupp from last year.
Yeah.
He goes down there, and when they're not running the ball, he's their first look. Saturday, 1 p.m., Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Detroit Lions, pair of shit defenses, 53.5 total in this one. Lions are 9.5 home dogs. Man, they're teeing Brady up for a good day here.
I don't think that spread's high enough.
Honestly, I think this is over under too high because yes, I think the Bucs are going to score, but the Lions without Galladay, it's a bad defense, but the Lions are just out there not playing.
They played well last week.
I was talking about the spread, not the total.
The Bucs should be at least 10-point favorites in this. But the Lions played well last week. I could see the Lions being able to not win, but keep up enough to make it a shootout. Stafford, if he plays, I'm interested in him. I think he's a fine streamer this week. The Buccaneers are a bad defense. Marvin Jones and DeAndre Swift are probably the only Lions skill position players I'm comfortable starting in the championship match. Anyone on the Lions that you guys are looking at that I'm not considering that you would start in the championship round?
No, I'm not rolling that's on anybody else. DeAndre Swift he's looked good, and Marvin Jones is pretty much as tried and tested as you can come in that Detroit offense.
Yeah, he's been very up and down this season, a lot more down than up, but lately, last couple weeks, he has shown more signs of life than he did the first time Galladay was out. I guess the only other person that I'd be hesitantly interested in, and this is just on DraftKings, would be Quintez Cephas. He's only 3,400. He's generally more of a big play guy. He's either getting in the end zone, you're getting double-digit points, or he's getting you 4 points. But for 3,400, you get a lot of roster flexibility with him, so I'm fine throwing him in there.
Yeah, he's like a budget Mike Williams, and I mean, granted,
Yes, very much so. Budget Mike Williams.
that's actually probably the best comparison you can make.
You hear about all these rookies popping off this year, and then it's Quintez Cephas. Tampa Bay side of the ball. What are you guys doing here?
Everyone, because the Detroit defense is laying down at this point. I mean, I'm comfortable. There isn't anybody that I'm not comfortable. I mean, maybe their run game, even though the Lions are last in the league.
I mean, Leonard Fournette looked good last week. Honestly, I would start Leonard Fournette if I'm somehow still holding on to Leonard Fournette. He's in play for me this week because Ronald Jones isn't playing. That was the big reason we didn't like that. Like, there was ambiguity there. Which back is it going to be this week? Let's spin the wheel of running backs. Like, there's no more of that. Like, it's Leonard Fournette. Like him or hate him, he's going to be out there. It's a bad run defense.
Yeah, for me, I'm fine starting Fournette. Brady, I like him this week. As far as the receiving options, this is probably like the only time I'm really seeing ever like a high total and a favored team where I'm not happy about the receiving options, just because there's so many people that could get those touchdowns that the matchup, everything that the stats say that it should be a good matchup for, AB and Godwin and all them, but it could just be one of their days and the other ones are just left out high and dry. It could be a Gronk day.
It's tough to pick which Tampa Bay receiver is going. Like, I'm still on the side of, if you have to pick one, it's Godwin. But
hope. I mean, but he hasn't been carving out that role as much as I'd like to see. Like, there's been too many weeks where other guys, honestly, you can start any of their receiving options because there's a chance for a touchdown and some good yardage here.
Yeah.
I think that these are floor play guys, though. You should be playing these guys with the thought that they could be the odd man out.
There's too many mouths to feed in that offense for any of the receiving options to be ceiling plays. You're never going to get a Devontae Adams week out of any of these guys unless they just happen to take like 2 to the house.
Yeah, these guys are probably not going to kill your week unless they're just absolutely not the guy this week. But like, none of them should crush you, but I don't think any of these guys are winning you the championship.
Yeah, these are all, it's like 3 Robert Woods basically. Where it's like, oh great, I'll get 10 points. Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat there. 49ers Cardinals, the next Saturday game on the slate. Total coming down a little bit, 48.5. Cardinals are 5-point home favorites here. Which, funnily enough, this is technically the 49ers home stadium right now as well, given that they aren't allowed to play at home. But yeah, I kind of agree with that total. I think this is going to be an interesting game. The Cardinals should win handily. Like, the 49ers are better than what we expected them to be, given the amount of injuries that they've had this season, but they just lost people again.
Is Mullins starting this week, or is it going to be Beathard?
Well, they just signed Josh Rosen. So, yes, it's definitely one of them.
I mean, this is a game I think is actually more... I like the over on this one just because somehow San Fran has been producing through the air. Granted, it's a very narrow target tree.
His name is Brandon Ayuk.
Yes, I get that. But we're also... there's talks that it is possible that Kittle might come back this week. It's not certain. It's definitely something to watch if you've got him. But he could come back, and that just opens up that offense a little bit more. I think this one's going to go over. I definitely favor the Cardinals a little heavier than this is, given the quarterback situation for the Niners. But if Kittle plays, I'm fine playing both Kittle and Ayuk, and then Cardinals side of the ball, I keep it simple, just like it has been. Just Kyler, Hop, maybe a running back, but I'm not happy about him.
Sure. Frankie, any dissenting opinions here, or are you basically on that same bandwagon?
No, I pretty much agree with all that.
Okay. Night game for Saturday. Miami Dolphins, Las Vegas Raiders, 47.5 total. Lowest on Saturday. It's funny, the totals go down over the course of Saturday. Raiders are 3-point home dogs in this one. Raiders are looking a little sus. We thought they were going to be a better team for once. It seemed like all the pieces were clicking. And just in very Raiders fashion, they've kind of crumbled.
Yeah, Gruden's getting exposed, and same thing with Derek Carr. Like, I think this is very appropriate, and I think the Dolphins should be able, with how well Tua's at least managing the game, I think Tua should be able to lead them through this one in probably a gross game, but it should be a win at the end of the day.
Sure. Yeah, I don't really see a lot of ways that the Raiders, like the Dolphins defense is just too good. The Raiders just look too average. Like they've got to be kicking themselves the fact they stuck with Derek Carr. Like they should have just blown that up. Let Derek Carr go or trade him for like a, whatever you can get, third, fourth round pick or something like that, and just just try your hand at getting one of these guys this year's draft. Like now they're missing out on like what's supposed to be a generational quarterback draft, and they're stuck with boring ass Derek Carr. Like I just I like what they're trying to do out there. I just doesn't seem to be working. Hey, at least they got Gruden for 7 years though, right?
I mean, at least they have Josh Jacobs, who hates fantasy.
The only guy I even care about on that team is Darren Waller, and I hope he goes somewhere else. So I hope he goes somewhere where he has a competent quarterback and, has a chance of winning a ring.
I mean, all that aside, I mean, we're starting the obvious and fading the cute stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, what do you guys do with Josh Jacobs this week, honestly?
I mean,
Speaking of he who will not be named.
I mean, I probably start him. I mean, the Dolphins' run defense has been fine. Their pass defense is what's making them money. But I think that, I'm more interested to see if Devontae Parker doesn't play, like which, if any, Miami pass catchers are you targeting? And actually, or are you playing any of the other tight ends if Gesicki doesn't play?
No.
Yeah, this one's really easy for me. I'll start Jacobs, but like he's
a begrudging start.
Yeah, he's kind of like he's like Zeke this year. It's like you kind of just have to grit your teeth and start him if he's playing.
Actually, so when he's been healthy, he's actually been a pretty good running back this season. Unlike Zeke, Jacobs actually had like game-winning days.
Yeah, I'm saying like at least at this point he's a Zeke play where it's like he's the guy, he's the clear number one. He should get all the work.
It's a more well-functioning offense than the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's not a great matchup, but Gruden's an old-style coach, so he wants to pound the rock to establish the run and go from that. But it's not a matchup. Like I said, this is another one where like Jacobs is not winning your championship, but I don't think he's losing it either. Like, or he has a better chance of busting out than I think
he is someone who legitimately could win you your championships because he has that talent. It's a run first offense. They're at home. The Dolphins can be run on. Jacobs could go off this week. Dolphins side of the ball, just to circle back around, because I thought of a player I would start, Myles Gaskin. That's it. He's in a great spot. He's officially healthy again. I'm perfectly fine starting Myles Gaskin. I want no one else on that Dolphins team.
Yep.
Let's move on to the Sunday matchups. First matchup on the slate here for Sunday, Cleveland Browns, New York Jets, 47-point total. The Browns are only 9.5-point road favorites. Seems low.
If Baker doesn't wake up feeling dangerous, I'll be very surprised.
We've seen this feels like the curmudgeons out in Vegas, the odds makers are still kind of scoring this based on, well, they're the Browns. But like we've seen the Browns be much better. Like these haven't been the Browns.
I mean, these
have been the Steelers or the Ravens. Like this has been an objectively good football team. Baker's playing some of the best football we've ever seen him play in his 3-year career. The offense seems to be firing on all cylinders, clicking on all fronts, whatever you want to say. Kevin Stefanski has them working well, and they get the hapless Jets who can't even lose right.
Yeah.
Like, is there any way they don't have a baseline of 30 in this game?
I think that this total is indicative of them thinking that they're just going to smother them with the run game and just run the clock out because they're going to win. It's just, how they do it. I don't think they need Baker. They don't even need Baker to really do much. They just let Chubb go out there and do Chubb things, and then as the game progresses, you just bring in Kareem Hunt to finish it off and keep your team healthy. Like this is a game where I feel like the Browns could hang 40 on them if they wanted to with how they've been playing. I don't think they need to, and they don't want to because there's no point in throwing it at the kitchen sink at the Jets.
Yeah, I mean we did mention that the Browns have 2 All-Pro running backs. So I think they're both going to get heavy usage.
This seems to be like you want to start your Browns in this one because there's going to be fantasy points to go around. Someone who actually like an interesting guy that I really wanted to make him a money pick, but I didn't want to have 2 punts, and Baker was already one of my money picks. Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah, I actually considered streaming him this week.
He's interesting to me on a redraft standpoint, and definitely on a DFS standpoint. Like, he's been getting some usage and he's looked good out there. And actually, let me double check his DFS price, but I don't think he's very like I said, 3,700 on DraftKings. Like, that's a pretty good deal for a guy who very recently has sort of, come into his own. I mean, last 3 games, the targets haven't really been there. 3-5-3, but he's been catching a lot of them, and he's getting a lot of deeper targets. 55 yards last week, 74 yards the week before, 92 and a touchdown the week before that. Like, he's getting involved. He's making a lot out of a little with the usage he's getting. And this could easily be a week against that Jets defense where maybe he gets a little extra this week because they don't want to use up Jarvis Landry or Rashad Higgins or Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb. Would you guys, I assume you're both in the same boat as me, you'd start him in DFS. Would you guys stream him in redraft this week if you need a wide receiver start?
I might. Because, if there's a game where that one guy who is just out on the team is going to get the touchdowns, it's going to be this week.
Sure.
I'm off it this week purely because his targets are not there. And if I'm like I said, this is the championship week, you have to play the best. Like, Rashad Higgins is the guy, like, he's their number 3 on the team who needs to prove himself. So if there's a guy I'm more picking to have a go-off game against the Jets, it's that. Just because, like I said, he's more of a focal point of this offense. And like I said, 3-5-3 in the past 3 weeks, that's not enough targets for me to trust a wide receiver, even in the flex spot. In the championship game, I would rather go digging elsewhere.
Okay, fair enough. Next matchup, Atlanta Falcons, Kansas City Chiefs, 54-point total in this one. Falcons are 10.5-point dogs to the Chiefs. This is going to be a blowout. I think this is one where we can just kind of move past it. You're starting the obvious plays. Falcons, you're starting Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage, and that's it. You can kind of ignore Hayden Hurst's week last week. He's going to continue being Hayden Hurst. You can start him at tight end because he's a tight end. Yep. But there's nothing weird about this one. This one's going to be a clown show. The Chiefs are going to win. New York Giants, Baltimore Ravens, 45-point total in this one. Giants are even bigger dogs than the Falcons. The Giants are 11-point dogs against these Ravens. Copy paste my last statement.
Yeah.
But with even less players that you can start.
This might be like 2.
Yeah, like it's Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews in the defenses. I guess actually J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is in a good spot again this week. He's continued to get consistent usage over the latter half of this season. I think J.K. Dobbins is a great start this week. There's a handful of running backs I would start him over. Like, I'd probably start him over Melvin Gordon. There's no Giants I start. Yeah. None. And both defenses are in play. Lamar Jackson turns the ball over, and the Giants defense is pretty good. I think that both defenses could be in play here. Chicago Bears, Jacksonville Jaguars. Bears are 7-point road favorites in this one. 47-point total here. This one is interesting to me because it kind of sounds like the Jaguars are packing it in, trying to get Trevor Lawrence. I actually think the Bears are a more interesting play it's already a good matchup, but I think the Bears are actually a more interesting play than I had initially thought now because, I'm still not streaming a quarterback in this one, but I think the Bears are going to be able to hang some points on them. This total might be a little too low. I think we could see the Bears, blow them out here.
But I think that's where the total comes from, is that it could be a Bears blowout, so they're just scoring all the points.
Sure.
Honestly, for this one, it is 0 Jags unless Robinson plays, because if they put the ball in Robinson's hands, he's not going to not run. He needs to build a resume that he can get a contract with.
And he's shown that he's consistent even in bad matchups this season, so he deserves to be out there.
Yeah. He's the one Jag I play Chicago side of the ball. I keep it simple. The two guys have been producing. If you need a third, yes, you can go into this one trying to hope for that, the Bears to run it up here. But like I said, once again, championship week, I just stick to my two guns here.
So the one gun that I would be fine to start this week, and I actually think he's a great start regardless of what format you're in, as long as it's at least half PPR, is Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet, with the exception of last week, had been getting some pretty consistent usage in that Bears offense. The Jaguars are really bad against tight ends. I love him in DraftKings this week. Basically bottom of the barrel price, $3K. He's an interesting streaming option at tight end in redraft this week. I don't have him. I don't know exactly where I'd put him in my rankings, but I'd say he's comfortably in my top 10, maybe in my top 7 this week.
I will just say that is bold.
Like I said, he's been getting targets, and Jimmy Graham's been just slowly, seemingly getting phased out. I think you could do worse. Frankie, what about you?
No, I'm pretty much on Kmet for the same reason. I might also play Mooney here.
No, that's too bold.
Yeah, like I said, this one I'm keeping short, keeping it sweet. Just I think the two main guys in Robinson and David Montgomery are going to smash in this game. And
this should be a big David Montgomery week.
Yeah, Montgomery might just explode his draft stock for next year because of how good he was in these past 3-4 games.
Sure.
I love to see it because I think he deserved it because he's a good running back, but I hate to see it because I'm not going to get to own him next year.
Sure. Indianapolis Colts, Pittsburgh Steelers, 44.5 points in this one. Colts are 2-point favorites. Shocking to see. You would expect the Steelers to be the favorites this one, but they just seem like a team that's just kind of coming apart late in the season. I want to say that the Steelers should be strong plays in this one, but it seems like they're having internal issues right now, and I'm probably, I guess, lower on Mike Tomlin than a lot of other people in the football community. But I don't think Tomlin's that great of a coach. I think he's just been kind of gifted with good players over his tenure with the Steelers. I don't know if he's skilled enough to, sort of quell this locker room and sort of right the ship. To me, honestly, the only Steeler that I'm comfortable starting this week is Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, you can't start their run game. It's been abysmal. Big Ben has been a little bit too. This is Big Ben at home, but it's still this is the Colts defense. They've been picking apart and everyone this season.
Yeah,
they've just been producing against everybody. For me, Steelers, it's just Deontay for me. If I'm being honest with myself, it's just Deontay.
It's tough, right? Because you want to like the options in this. You're looking at. You're like, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. There should be someone else on this team that I like, but there isn't.
Yeah, on the plus side, Juju did say he was going to stop dancing on logos.
I don't care. Dancing on logos doesn't do any. It's it's kind of disrespectful, I guess. But
it's bad juju.
Take
5, Frankie, for that terrible pun. Jesus.
If he was doing this, but he was also producing, it's just people even the Bengals were saying before the game that we hate it, but they're the top dogs right now. When you're the top dog, you can kind of do what you want. But right now, they're getting smashed in the mouth by everybody.
Yeah,
they kind of have to shut up and play. So
yeah,
I could see this as being the get right game because usually after a certain point, NFL players cut the bull and get to it, which they do at least have a Hall of Fame quarterback back there. They do have talent on this team. Their defense is great, and the run game should not be this bad. But they are going to have to try and get a get right game out of the Colts, which is what's tough.
The Colts, who are still trying to win their division, I believe, too. It's not just like this is the run of the mill Colts. I have to double check the AFC playoff picture, but I believe they still have a chance to lock that division up.
Yeah, I think that them and the Titans are both 10-4 or 10-5 rather.
Yeah, so it's this gonna be I think it's gonna be a good football game. I'm not really looking forward to it from a fantasy perspective. I mean, Colts side of the ball, that Steelers defense hasn't looked like something looks wrong there. They haven't been playing, as lights out as they had been. I think you can start. I mean, you can definitely start Jonathan Taylor in this one. He's been playing too well over the past couple of weeks to not get the nod, even in a bad matchup. Can you start T.Y. Hilton here?
He's been balling. He's been playing too well this offseason, or this late half of the season, and the Steelers are susceptible to the air. We've seen that all year. It was their Achilles heel that they were shutting out good run games,
Yeah.
but the good receivers could still make their hay on him. So yeah, I'm fine with starting him as a flex guy.
Yeah, I think that this. I mean, again, because
Also, they are both 10-4.
yeah, I did play, and they also both have very tough matchups this week.
Yes, we will get to the Titans later on. All right, Cincinnati Bengals, Houston Texans. Next game on the slate. 46-point total in this one. Bengals are 8.5-point road dogs. So you're starting T. Higgins if Boyd doesn't play. You're probably starting him if he does play, because Boyd would be coming in off, no practice this week. I think the only, at least to me, the only other Bengal that there is to talk about here is Gio Bernard, who was looking washed up. He looked like he was running his way out of football until last week when he gashed the Steelers of all defenses. And now he gets the Houston Texans, the defense giving up the most fantasy points to running backs in football. Yeah. Like, do you start Gio this week? He's like,
yeah.
I get the quaking knees when I try to put him into a lineup, because I'm like, oh God, do I trust him after all this string of bad weeks just because he beat up the Steelers?
If you're a Gio owner and you're in your championship, play him. I am probably not going to be making, any lineups I'm making this weekend, probably aren't going to be including Gio, though.
Is he someone who, play him, but if you have better options, sit him? Or are you trusting matchup overall and you're just shoving him in there because it's the Houston Texans, and who doesn't score against the Houston Texans?
I am personally,
because let me give you an example. In one of my leagues, I have Gio, and he's currently on my bench because my starting running backs are David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs. And then, so I'm considering putting him in my flex, but it's either like him or Allen Robinson in my flex. And I'm twisting in the wind over this decision here because I have no idea which way I'm going with it. Because there's good plays all over the board, and while I do love the matchup, Gio has been disappointing before last week.
Robinson's not the guy I would sit there. At least I don't know the rest of your receivers, but honestly,
DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I'm saying, take a real honest look at Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Starting Gio, Gio could just be getting free points here. Josh Jacobs does not have a great matchup. The team looks out of sync. They're not really playing for anything. There's something there, and the Bengals, they looked good last week, and they said they're getting a cake matchup.
Yeah, it seems like even with the bad hand they've been dealt, they still want to play for, Zach Taylor. They want to try and close the season out well, and put them in a winning mindset for when they get Burrow back next year. Yeah. Texans side of the ball, what are we talking about here? Just Cooks and Cootie, right? I guess you start Deshaun in this one. I was going to say,
Deshaun, I think, is a good play here. His price in DK is a little high for me.
Oh, I don't touch them in DK.
Yeah,
I guess maybe I have 5% ownership Texans. If I'm mass multi-entering and I have 150 entries, maybe I'll get a splash of them in there just in case they pop. But if I'm doing one lineup or small field stuff, I'm not gonna risk it on the Texans.
Yeah, because I went in and I was like, oh, Deshaun's got them, and I started looking at it and I was like, I'm not liking the run backs, the total's low. I think redraft Deshaun has a lot of value. DraftKings, not much.
Yes, I would agree. Yeah. I really like the receiving options and the passing options for the Texans in this matchup. They could be a championship winning play just because of how bad the Bengals are. I avoid them in DraftKings this week. Denver Broncos, LA Chargers, 49-point total in this one. Chargers are 3 points home favorites against these Denver Broncos. After a couple down weeks where everyone was wondering if Justin Herbert might have been fallen back to earth, he climbed back on his rocket ship and flew off to Saturn. He had a great week last week, despite not having Keenan Allen. These Denver Broncos aren't really that good of a defense. I really like this matchup. I think it's going to be a fantasy bonanza.
I am excited to be an Austin Eckler manager in this one.
Yeah, Austin Eckler's. I mean, he's been a little slow coming back, but like he still looks good out there. Looks like he's getting back into the swing of things. And if Keenan Allen's out this week, Austin Eckler's going to be a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of surprised that this one is only a 3-point, 3-point line. Like I would be smashing.
Given how hard the Broncos
I would be
scoring.
smashing the Chargers -3 on this one. Like
that's
already just basically giving them home points. So they're basically calling this one almost an even game.
Yeah,
which
coin flip.
Yeah, coin flip. Which the only way that's fair is the fact that the Chargers, despite how good Herbert's playing, they find ways to lose games.
The Chargers don't find ways to lose games. Anthony Lynn
It's
finds
the
ways
coaching.
to. Yeah, Anthony Lynn needs to be out this. Like they need to get rid of him, get a winner in there, someone who isn't afraid. Get someone with some cojones who isn't afraid to go for it on 4th and 2 instead of just kicking a field goal and missing because they have Mike Bagley.
I still can't believe that this was the team that almost took the division from the Chiefs. We were feeling bad for them.
Honestly, we could see that. We could see them return to that in the future because it looks like their defense should be good. They have a pair of all-pro cornerbacks. They were hurt this year, but they have a pair of all-pro cornerbacks. They're able to get after the cornerback, or get after the quarterback. So they've got a good defense on all levels. Justin Herbert was the missing piece. Phillip Rivers wasn't winning anybody any titles. Justin Herbert looks like he could be good enough to do that. He could be good enough to duel with Pat Mahomes as he ages in this league.
Yeah, honestly, I just whenever I think of the Chargers, I just keep thinking back to that season when the Patriots won their last ring, and the Chargers, everyone was saying the Chargers basically got screwed because the Patriots got the bye, whereas the Chargers had better record, and everyone was saying that the people were like, oh, we should do away with this system because it's dumb and it doesn't reward teams that play well and stuff like that. But man, when this defense is clicking, they should be playing so much better. And this is just this coaching system. Just they need an overhaul.
Quick sidebar, but no matter who's coaching for the Chargers, is there any team in the NFL that has wasted more talent than the Chargers? I mean, even back to when Wade Phillips was the coach, and they had LaDainian Tomlinson, and Antonio Gates, and Vincent Jackson, and a younger Phillip Rivers, and they still couldn't win. Is there any team that wastes talent? Maybe the Dallas Cowboys.
Cowboys are up there. I think honestly, the two teams that jump to my mind are the Steelers and the Packers. Yes, the Steelers have won 2 rings with Big Ben, but think about the amount of talent that has come through that system. And then the Packers are the worst, probably the worst, because 1 ring, Rodgers, his whole career there.
Aaron Jones agrees.
Aaron Jones, Eddie Lacy in his prime.
The 1 year he's in his prime. I still say it's the Chargers, because the Chargers had superstars at every position in the late early 2000s. Late first decade, whatever you want to call that.
Gates.
Yeah, they had arguably the best player at their respective position at every single position except quarterback. But Phillip Rivers was still a top 7 quarterback back in the day, and they just couldn't. That team, and now it seems they're doing it again. Justin Herbert looks great. Keenan Allen's awesome. Austin Eckler's great. They got what should on paper a top 5 NFL defense, and they'll have a losing record. They need to fix that somehow.
Yeah, my one last closing thing. The one thing to give them just a little bit of credit, and why I give them a little bit of a pass, they did have to play during the high point of Brady, Peyton Manning, Big Ben.
Fair.
The Ravens when they were in an elite defense. It was a tough division, the AFC, to get out of that.
Fair. I guess I guess you can give them that asterisk if you want. Broncos, it's Noah Fant and Melvin Gordon, and we're moving on.
Jesus.
What?
No, I was gonna say in 2007 they had LT, Antonio Gates, and Vincent Jackson.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Yeah.
Like-
Also, remember what happened in 2007 on the Patriots had the ball.
Yeah.
That's the side why I give them the asterisk.
Carolina Panthers, Washington football team, 44.5 point total in this one. I am very uninterested in this game. Washington football team are 2.5 point home favorites. Washington football team is a very good defense. They've got a revenge game going on here for Riverboat Ron. He's too nice to have a revenge game. He hopes both teams have fun. No, but the Washington football team looks like a well-coached team with no quarterback. They're going to be, if they don't make the playoffs, in the running for a replacement for Haskins this offseason, I imagine. Panthers look like a team that's missing Christian McCaffrey.
Do you start Mike Davis?
No.
Yeah, this one honestly, the total's low, but for some reason there's still a lot of options here. Mostly on the Washington side,
Yeah.
just because.
I mean, McKissick's is in a good spot.
Yeah,
we know that you have
if Gibson comes back, I think he's a good play.
Eh.
It's Carolina. Everyone can run on them.
I don't trust Gibson coming off an injury against Carolina. You probably have to play him if he plays. He's not the first guy I jump to. I'm looking for a way to not play him even if he plays. To me, I'm a little more comfortable with McKissick. Especially if Gibson comes back, that means McKissick has to go back to being a change of pace guy. We've seen him excel in that role. Obviously, I like Terry McLaurin this week. DJ Moore seems to be back. It seems to be the new hotness. The pendulum's.
Do you want to trust him though?
No, but the pendulum is swinging back, and if you got to pick one, I'm picking DJ Moore.
Well, the thing about pendulums, when they swing one way, they have a tendency to go back the other way.
Well, it took a long time to swing this way, so I'm hoping that it's going to be like 2021 when it swings back.
It's gonna hover a little bit and then just
It's got to hit the apex. It's still on its upswing. No, it's a low total. They're on the road. I don't want to pick any Panthers in this one. I am, if I have the luxury of doing it, I am sitting every Panther. If I have to play one, gun to my head, who am I trusting to get me 10 fantasy points? It's DJ Moore. LA Rams, Seattle Seahawks, 47.5 point total. Break even spread here. Seahawks are 1 point home favorites.
I think that's literally because I don't think you can put a 0 spread.
You can.
Can you?
Yeah.
Well, then wouldn't it not be a spread? It would just be an even.
Yeah. It's
a pick 'em.
Yeah. I really like the Rams. I think 1 point for the Rams is not enough. The Rams should be favored in this one. Maybe it's because they're missing Cam Akers. I don't know, but the Rams should be the favorites in this one. I expect them to beat the Seahawks. Russell Wilson is doing his best disappearing act.
This is the time of year Russell goes into his cocoon and gets ready for the playoffs because we know he's a bad man in the playoffs. We know he can play.
Yeah.
But for some reason, once he hits the teen weeks, he's just cocoon goes around. He turns.
He's like the new Phillip Rivers.
Yeah,
he freezes in post-November.
Yeah, he just goes into hibernation, and this is one where for me, Seahawks, it's DK.
That's it.
Chris Carson, if you need him.
And this is the info was put together by Kyle Yates, but I saw this earlier today, and it just further underscored my point about how much I hate Tyler Lockett. I remember we were talking about this last week. Tyler Lockett, since week 7, guess how many top 10 fantasy finishes he has? Week 7 was his explosion.
Yeah, I did see this tweet too.
Yeah.
It's not pretty.
No. Guess how many top 20 fantasy finishes he has?
Ooh,
Is it 1?
2.
It's 2.
Yeah.
Guess how many top 30 fantasy finishes he has?
Is it 2?
3.
It's 2.
Ooh.
Guess how many top 40 fantasy finishes he has?
Is it 4?
It's 3.
It's 2.
Oh, that's not. Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 3. It's 3. Week 7, wide receiver 1. Week 8, wide receiver 58. Week 9, wide receiver 63. Week 10, wide receiver 32. Week 11, back to wide receiver 11.
I think we get it.
Week 12, wide receiver 71. The last 3 weeks, 47, 45, 65. This guy's a bum. This guy's a bum who blows up sometimes because he has Russell Wilson throwing him the football and DK Metcalf to take the cover off the defense, and he just sometimes catches lightning in a bottle. This guy's a bum. He's on your bench.
To be fair, I did call this in the preseason.
Yeah,
I've always been down on Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, he's a guy I've always wanted to like because he's always had these pop games, and like when he was stealing it from Doug Baldwin, it was just like, all right, I guess it's Lockett over Baldwin. When I was
season, when everyone just like was trying to will it into existence to be the Tyler Lockett wide receiver 1 season, I was like, no, it's not going to happen. He's a gadget player.
Yeah, the only thing I think of that those statistics and his performance have been showing me is maybe I draft him next year at an appropriate level or a late level and then trade him. Like, he's a great, just use him for your first 3 weeks to get you some wins and trade him away.
Hope he just pops week 1 and you're like, here you go.
Oh no, I'll hold him for 3 weeks. Russell Wilson plays very nice weeks 1 through 5. And then when he's the wide receiver 10, I'll trade him to somebody who's just like got an injured, like if Galladay gets injured in the beginning of the season again, but he's actually going to play.
Yeah,
I'll be like, hey, you can have the wide receiver 10. I'll take your broken receiver.
Well,
I just hate him. Like I'm sure he's a nice person. I hate him from a fantasy standpoint so much because he's one of these players where like fantasy managers cannot stop riding the guy's dick, and it's like, give it up already. He's not that good.
See, it's funny because this is how I feel about Kenyon Drake. You know, you can just copy paste the name. It's exactly the speech I was giving before the season started. But you know, I'm only feeling a little bit of validation on that one. So
at least Kenyon Drake is a running back, which is a more scarce position. Wide receivers it's much easier to find good wide receivers, and yet people are still trying to shove this guy into the 4th round like he deserves to be there. Like, he can't hold AJ Brown's jockstrap. All right, rant over. Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Cowboys, 49.5 point total. Last 4 o'clock game here. Cowboys are 2 points, 2-point home dogs here. I think this is going to be a pretty straightforward one. You know, that you want Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts should, be lava hot again this week. I love him from a fantasy aspect. If you manage to pick him up, he could win you your championship week. So congratulations. The Cowboys are putrid. Cowboys side of the ball, you cross your fingers Zeke doesn't play, so you can play Tony Pollard, and maybe you play Amari Cooper. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say Amari Cooper, and then that's pretty much it.
It's ugly.
Is it Amari Cooper though? Because last week it was CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper did his Amari Cooper job, and just
well, that's why I said maybe Amari Cooper. Like, I don't want to play him. You might have to because
To be fair, at this point, do you really think Amari Cooper, my manager, actually made it? Somebody who drafted Amari Cooper probably in the 2nd round.
Yeah, 2nd or 3rd round. Amari
maybe you traded for him late in the season, but like if you were someone who drafted Amari Cooper, you are not right now unless you got nailed every other pick and you picked up James Robinson. Like, you hit everything else.
Yeah, Amari Cooper might be dead weight on your roster. You're right. It's for me. It's Miles Sanders, it's Dallas Goedert, it's Jalen Hurts, and then it's Tony Pollard if Zeke is out.
Yeah,
Tennessee. Oh, this is the matchup that I cannot wait for this Sunday night game. It's gonna be so good.
Either.
Tennessee Titans, Green Bay Packers, 56 a monstrous total, and which is I feel like it's gonna be low because Derrick Henry can score 56 points by himself.
I'm slamming the over on this one.
This is gonna be so. This is like a bunch of my favorite players all in one game. I love Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers is fun to watch at quarterback. AJ Brown's a god. Derrick Henry's also a god. Like, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be a great football matchup and a great fantasy matchup.
Yeah, I think once again I am the dissenter here. I take the under on this one. I think the Packers just kind of walk away with this game. Like, Derrick Henry's still going to be good. AJ Brown's still going to be good. As a football team, I think the Packers are just going to outscore and then actually play defense. So I think that's going to be the easy route for them to win. I could see this being like 30-20. It's still good, 50 points.
It's going to be a high scoring game.
It's going to be high scoring. I don't see it hitting 56.5 or 50, 57 points here.
From a real football perspective, I will be interested to watch this game, see how the Packers look, because you do still and to see how the Titans look, honestly. Because if the Titans come in and they just blow doors and they exit Green Bay with a W, I'm taking the Titans a lot more seriously now. I mean, I already take them seriously, but if they can go into Lambeau into Rodgers' house and beat him up, that gives me a little more hope that the Titans can actually beat the Chiefs and take the AFC.
Do you play any Green Bay running backs if Aaron Jones doesn't play? Because Jamal Williams is still hurt too, so that would leave AJ Dillon as the only healthy running back.
If AJ Dillon's the only, if Quadzilla is the only active running back on the Green Bay roster, then yes, I am playing Quadzilla. I will, I loved him in the preseason. It hasn't paid off yet, but I'm willing to bet the farm. That's a great matchup. That's a great matchup on a great offense. And if there's no one to take touches from him, sure, why not? Quadzilla it is then. Go Quadzilla.
I'd love to see it. Just finally. The fantasy championship.
He has like a Jonas Gray day.
Yeah. 4 touchdowns.
200 yards, 4 touchdowns, just torches the Titans.
The Titans are also very susceptible to...
Yes, that's the big reason that I'd be very in on it. And he looked good last week. The touches he got last week, he looked good on them.
Yeah, if he's going to start showing up that, second round draft price and, all the reasons why the Packers went in on him when they could have, given him any of the high caliber receivers that, Rodgers probably wants.
Yeah.
It's got to be now or never. If he gets this solo, it's got to be now or never. Like, this is a put up or shut up game for him.
Interesting note for the Packers side of the ball. This could be the last time that fantasy managers see Aaron Jones in a Green Bay uniform. Obviously, we'll get to see him in the playoffs as football fans, but for fantasy managers, the season ends this week. Aaron Jones is a free agent. He could be in a different set of laundry next season. So this could be Aaron Jones' swan song for fantasy managers here.
Yeah, honestly, I think the writing's on the wall with this one, just because they have found any way they could to not give Aaron Jones the ball, and then they
drafted AJ Dillon
in the second round. Like, the writing's on the wall. Sorry, Aaron Jones, you're going to another team. You're going to probably be overpaid by a little bit, but you're also going to be in a committee because that's how fantasy football works. You're going to go to a team we don't want you on, like the Colts or something like that, where they're just like, we just want to get we're just going to pound the rock with Philip Rivers over the top. Like, it's going to be gross.
We want him to go to like Tampa Bay or like Pittsburgh, and he's going to
he'll go to
like Philadelphia.
Yeah, he's gonna go to the Bucs or something like that. But they'll keep all the running backs and be like, we got 3.
Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, they'll re-sign Leonard Fournette. They'll, Ronald Jones will still be there, and they're just like, we're gonna use all these great running backs.
They need to let Fournette go so they can have the 2 Joneses.
All right, we're moving on to the Monday night game. Keeping up with the Joneses.
Great fantasy team name, by the way.
Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots. Man, really letting the air out of the balloon with this one. I feel like the Sunday night game should be the Monday night game, so you can end up like this is just going to be, as a Patriots fan, it hurts me a little bit, but like Cam Newton is just bad at football.
I'm starting my Bills.
Yeah, I'm starting my Bills, and I'm not even starting the Patriots defense because Stephon Gilmore's out, and we already had like a bunch of other key players opt out preseason. So it's like Stephon Gilmore was the last like big piece in this defense.
Like, J.C. Jackson's been playing good, but if Gilmore's here, I would say the Patriots have a legit shot to just out defense the Bills, but they're missing too much. Their offense isn't producing. The Bills should win this one.
Yes.
Granted, it's Patriots at home, but the Bills should win this one. But, Bill Belichick...
Bill's going to win like 47-14 somehow.
Like, Cam Newton's going to have his one, like, MVP game where he throws for, like, 250, runs for 120.
Yeah.
He's going to be the offense. Jacoby Myers is going to get 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. And we're just going to be, where was this? And then they're going to play the Jets and look like crap.
Yeah, I don't think that home field matters as much now. I mean, for these two teams specifically, because if there's any place that's comparable to New England in the winter, it's Buffalo.
So there's no Patriots are playing, right?
I'm not playing anybody.
0 Patriots. Cool. We're agreed. All right. Before we close out the show, let's jump on over to our starts and money picks. Last week, I went 3 for 4. Vitali went 2 for 4, and I didn't update Frankie's score.
As is tradition.
Yeah, I looked at it. I updated your total. You went from 47 to 51. I didn't give you any wins. I'm sure you had at least one.
Oh, I was 2 for 4.
Okay. So you're 23 for 51 now.
Yeah.
I'm 32 for 60 on the season so far. You are 29 for 60. For those of you keeping score at home, I currently have a 3-point lead on Vitali going into the final week of our bet. We will announce the winner of that on next week's show when we do a fantasy accolades or MVP show, whatever you want to call it. We go over some of the picks we made preseason and whatnot. But we have one more round of picks to make, guys. So I will take it away here. I did some editing mid-show on mine because I decided I gut pick switched one of my starts. I am taking Brandon Ayuk at Arizona and Jarvis Landry at New York Jets.
You're a piece of crap. You know that?
Why?
Because you basically you played the defense game and took my money as your start. So if my money goes off, then you're guaranteed.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
You are a bastard, man. Also,
we were just talking about Brandon Ayuk, and I was like, yeah, I do like him.
I was like, yeah, so like the entire San Fran offense at this point.
I will argue about that one later, but anyways, I'll tell you why Brandon Ayuk is so good when you're done.
So I like both of them this week. I think they both present very solid floors with surprisingly high ceilings given the offenses they're on. And then for my money picks, Baker Mayfield at New York Jets, doubling down on Browns this week. Don't feel good about it, but that's just my past biases sneaking in because Baker's balling right now. He looks awesome out there. 61 is an easy price for him to hit value on. He's got easy stacks to slap on there with him, and you can, there's no good run backs on the Jets, but you can find a cheap one. And with how expensive everyone is this week, cheap might be better than good, honestly. And then Cole Kmet at Jacksonville. Speaking of cheap, $3K. He
very pricey.
Yeah, he's dirt cheap. Jacksonville doesn't cover tight ends. And prior to last week, he had been getting 7 targets a week for the past I think it was 2 or 3 weeks. He looked like he was being more phased into their offense as old man Jimmy Graham slowed down and hobbled over to his rocking chair. I expect Cole Kmet to return to fantasy relevance this week and have a good game. And even if he doesn't, he's $3K. He doesn't kill your lineup. He's a tight end punt.
I'll hop in now.
Sure.
So for my starts, I'm going to go with the man I should have started last week, Jalen Hurts against Dallas, because even though this is not a high-scoring affair, he's going to be able to run as he pleases. He's going to be able to pass as he pleases. He's been red hot, and I think at worst he does not lose you this matchup. I think that's his floor this week because Dallas is god awful. They're going to turn the ball over, and Jalen Hurts is basically going to get to play practice squad.
We're on a 2-game winning streak, by the way.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
sure.
Hurts' ability to run the football does sort of give him that that safety net. So.
Yeah, and a name that we've talked about ad nauseum, Logan Thomas versus Carolina. Carolina is not great versus the tight end. These targets have to go somewhere. Dwayne Haskins is still under center, so the dump off is not going to be there as much. And Haskins has shown he loves this tight end. So 15 targets last week. I think he's still going to get 8, 9 this week, and he catches the ball quite consistently. So tight end coming down with 6, 7, 8 balls and good red zone targets. That's that could be a week winner. As at very least, he's once again not going to cost you a fantasy championship.
Sure.
For my monies, I'm going to pivot because you're a bastard, man.
Okay.
So first, the one I already put down, Tom Brady. I got him against Arizona this week. He has all the weapons he wants. Actually, sorry, Detroit. I wrote them backwards. I realized that right now.
I was looking at that. I was like, that doesn't look correct.
We just talked about him, Detroit. Anyways,
Brady versus Detroit.
Yeah.
If you can count on one person to score points, it's the guy who's delivering the points.
Right. He can throw it anywhere he wants. He still gets the points. 6,800 is a little on the expensive side. Once again, I think he's just going to be able to score at will against Detroit and pay back his 6,800 price tag. There's people to run it back with in this competition. People to stack it with. This is what you want when you're trying to win a GPP. So I'm comfortable rolling Brady out this week.
Sure.
So because Ayuk was, cock blocked for me by somebody who might be sitting near me in an attempt to stop me from being able to win with a 4-0. So I'm going to go ahead. I have to go look up his price real quick, but I'm going to go ahead with Mr. Actually, no, I remember it off the top of my head. I'm going to go with Travis Kelce with $8,500 this week.
Chasing that high price guy, huh?
That means he needs a 30-point game, but he's playing the Atlanta Falcons, who suck at football right now.
Very high total in that game, too.
He is the receiving leader, I believe, in yardage this
Yes.
year right now. So
Currently he is.
I will chase the high that he is on right now and shoot for the moon. Seeing how if I pick Ayuk, who was my original start, who I do like because he's been points per game since he's been going off. Only Devontae Adams is ahead of him, I believe, and I think he might have even passed him with last week's performance and Devontae having a bad game. But yeah, Ayuk's a great pick. Travis Kelce is going to absolutely smash this week, and if you can fit him in your roster, do so.
I believe Tyreek Hill is banged up also, so. It's funny, I didn't even think of the fact that with me also picking Ayuk, if Ayuk goes off, we both benefit. I was just like, yeah, I trust Ayuk.
Yeah,
I was thinking like I trust Ayuk more than Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, it was like it makes it impossible for me to win this week, and it makes it that the best I can get if I get a 4 is that we tie.
You guys were talking up Ayuk during the Arizona matchup, and I was like, yeah, I'm probably throwing too much shade at him. I'm gonna switch from Melvin Gordon to Brandon Ayuk.
Sure.
I'm gonna keep mine simple. I mean, one of the guys we talked about during the Houston matchup, Kiki Kuti.
Sure.
He's been playing football well since he's come back.
Or since Will Fuller has left.
Yes.
Because he was already back before that. He just wasn't. Continue.
And because I can't play Robert Tonyan here because he's in the Sunday night game, Noah Fant, who is pretty much all I want to own in that Denver offense.
Well, no, you can use Robert Tonyan as a start. The Sunday night game only applies to money picks because we limit that to the main slate typically.
Oh, okay, then I'll put Robert Tonyan there instead.
Okay.
Guaranteed touchdown. Money picks. This one is really easy for me. Myles Gaskin, 5,300.
Yes.
He's going against the Raiders, who
Chip.
just on the downward spiral. And Marvin Jones, 4,900.
It's more than I'd want to pay for Marvin Jones personally, but I see the value there.
I mean, especially if Kenny Galladay's out, which he is more than likely going to be.
Yes.
Then I...
Yeah, he's my run back guy if you're using Brady.
Yeah, I think if this total's going to hit its total, he's the guy that's going to help it get there.
It's almost a requirement. Like, yeah, he's going to have to do something if that game's going to go off. All right, well, that's going to do it for our last week of starts and monies here. Before we close this out, we are doing good on time today, so let's do a beer check, boys. I have gone through one.
It's not me.
I'm a quarter through 2.
Oh,
So you're the lead. I finished one on the nose.
Alrighty.
Take it away, Vitali.
So, today I'm going to just use my time, since we do have our producer behind the scenes that no one's seen today. I'm going to talk a little bit of shit about a friend of ours who had to do a chug today because he lost to me in the first round of the playoffs and had to sip some nice cold 40 of OE.
Well, before you talk, explain to the viewers because that's not a common fantasy tradition. It's for our primary league, our main league, if you will. Why don't you explain to the viewers what the chug was for?
For sure. This is also kind of part of what I wanted to get into is making your league funner is putting in a punishment. So we have a little thing in our league where we have a game of the week. So we can vote on it or we predetermine at least the beginning of the year so everyone gets to play. So the loser of this matchup has to consume in total a tall boy on camera for everyone to see, or at least in person if they're not able to do it on camera. Usually it's your time to...
That's a slammer by Taylor. Tall boy's the bigger one.
A little bit taller. So, yeah, the 25 ounces. So, they have to go ahead and set that down for everyone to see, to enjoy. They do get to, talk some smack. But going into the championship, into the playoffs, it's high stakes. You want to win. So, sometimes people get a little cocky and they want to step up and, think that they can take some people down. So, this friend, I'll leave him unnamed, so so as not to shame him in front of the whole world. But he thought he could take me down. It's fine. It's fine to think that. But he went up against me. He put up a 40, not just a 25. 40 ounces of liquor.
Well, malt liquor.
Liquor's in the name.
it was 42 ounces.
So I gave him a pass on it. And he got to pay that off tonight right before the podcast. So I got to watch him imbibe all 42 ounces because it was a little taller of a 40 than normal of nice old English out of a plastic bottle. So, I guess in summation here, 1, sir, you suck, and that's why you deserved all 42 ounces of that. And 3, if your league doesn't have any kind of punishment, something to keep people more engaged, making you want to fight more, like when people can check out towards the end of a season, and if you have 2 bad teams going into it, they're great 2 teams to put against each other in these game of the week matchups, because then they're like, I wasn't paying attention. I now have to pay attention because I don't want to have to chug a tall boy or do whatever punishment you guys agree on if you guys are drinkers or of age. It's just something to really keep people engaged. I think that with fantasy, that's the number one thing. It keeps the integrity of the league and keeps the competitive nature of your league up.
Yeah, no, we were talking about the other day where it's like, I sometimes forget that our league has a cash prize. I play because I want my name on the trophy.
Oh,
and the money is just like it's a side effect of winning. Like
like I've already said, if I win, I'm basically using almost 100% of the winnings just to get myself a belt, just to flaunt at the next year's draft. Even though I'm like, I don't really care about the belt that much.
Traditions keep a league going.
Yeah, someone asked me earlier, like, how much is that league for? I'm like, I don't know. I just do it because I'm going through the motions.
And now I realize I can totally just skim money off the top of you guys. Like, oh yeah, it was totally $40 dues this season. All right, well, that'll do it for our final countdown show of the season. Join us next week as we bring you guys we'll just call it Fantasy Awards show or something for now. It'll have a more official sounding title when we
Year
put
in
the video
review,
out.
maybe?
Yeah, something like that. That sounds too much like for Spotify at that point, but we'll slap a more official title on it. We're going to go back and revisit some of our saucy preseason takes, our stamps of approval, the starts and money picks contest to see who won that. We'll bring you guys all that content next week. As always, before we close out, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you find out when new videos come out in the off season. Like I said, it's going to be a different production schedule, not going to be as regular as it was during the season. So you want to know when those things drop so you don't miss something important, like our free agency video or our draft video. So make sure you do that, and also follow us on Twitter. We'll be talking about fantasy sports throughout the year, more or less. We do have a fantasy basketball league that's getting started, so we'll be, if you're into basketball, that'll be the topic of discussion for the next couple months, as well as football off season. And hope you guys win your championships, except for you, Garrett.